Donation Month, and we're going to honor Mike next Sunday when he comes back with a basket of cards. So I put a basket right back here, Kathy has it in her hand. I seeded it with our card. So everybody bring cards, either through this week or next Sunday when you come to church. Slide them in there so he hopefully doesn't notice.
Can we bring him a fish just in case they don't get
That's up to you.
I'll put it in the envelope.
Okay.
Yes?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is Autumn Fest week, so we need everybody to help pitch in. So after the service today, I would appreciate if everybody would help move and stack all the chairs for us. And I've already picked out 4 strong men, so maybe I could get 6 to help bring the stuff out of the shed. You don't have to set up, you just need stuff brought out of the shed. And I would very much appreciate it.
All right. Anything else? Other things that are on here is the third Sunday of the month. Is that this Sunday? I'm trying to remember. Last Sunday? These are, okay. Christmas greens sales are happening though, correct? Is that still happening? Okay, just checking. You can contact Judy Kennedy about that if you would like to. And it looks like St. Vincent de Paul is looking for volunteers to help them as well. So if you're interested in that, you
Not a lot of hours, it's usually 2 hours at the most.
so not a lot. If you're looking for something to do though, they need some help. Mike is still on vacation, so if you have needs, John Brond is here and ready to help you. And also, you can call him. All right. As we gather together, yes, one more thing.
I forgot, I had an announcement.
Okay.
This is about the Warm Springs water. We delivered 125 jugs, or 125 gallons of water to them. And I've been asked to get an announcement to not put your money or your check to PPC. Either make it out to me, Kathy Bumless, or Suzanne, and hand it to us. We're trying not to go through and make the treasurer's work more of a problem. But we are doing receipts, so you will get a receipt to use as a donation. Okay? They were very much appreciated, and so thank you all. We did donate, and we'll see you in November.
All right. Okay. Is that it?
That-
That's wonderful. As we gather together on a blustery day and enter into a time of worship, the peace of Christ be with you. And now you can pass the peace of Christ to one another however you feel comfortable. And you can wave and smile at our friends virtually. I did. It's green. I think I just might not talk loud enough.
Haven't we all got used to that?
All right. We'll give everybody a few seconds to find their seats. This is the day that the Lord has made. And now we'll quiet our spirits for a few moments and listen to a musical meditation together. Please join me in a prayer for God's Spirit. Lord, we come before you today, and we invite your presence into this space and in our lives. And in this space and in our lives, more than that, we invite the recognition of your presence that is you already there with us. I pray that we would listen well for you today, whatever we're doing here in this space and later afterwards during our day. In your name, amen. And now we'll raise our voices together in our call to worship. What mighty praise belongs to you, O God. Even those at the farthest ends of the earth stand in awe of your wonders.
From sunrise to sunset, you inspire shouts of joy.
You are the hope of the whole world.
What mighty praise belongs to you, O God.
We're going to sing the hymn For the Beauty of the Earth. It's number 473 in your songbooks. And we're going to do verses 1, 3, and 5. And now we will pray a prayer of confession and wholeness together. It'll be followed by 60 seconds of silence for your own personal confession and prayers. So many voices trumpet their greatness. So many images boast of their beauty, flaunt their power, squander their wealth, and too many do so in your name, Jesus. And here we are in a world which is broken by the arrogance of people just like us. May your humility break in and challenge us, remind us of our brokenness and need, and teach us to serve and love everyone with the grace and humility you show towards us. In Jesus Christ, we live in a state of grace. The next hymn is an insert in your bulletin, Give Thanks with a Grateful Heart. I don't know how many times we'll sing it through.
It's repeated, first part, and then the second part is repeated.
All right.
Give thanks to the Holy One.
You may be seated. All right. So as I reflected on what question to put forth to you all for a time for the young and the young at heart, my question is about questions, and I would like to know who are some of the best question askers in your life, the people who ask really good questions. Who are they and why are they that way? What makes it seem that way for you? There's already people pointing.
That's a hard question.
Suzanne.
Okay, Bella, I think kids say things just like they are. Their minds are not cluttered with, what's in the outside world, and they ask questions like, why is the world round? Or, some question you may not have the answer for, but they're honest and forthright. So I think it's kids.
That's a good one.
I think our teachers are some of the best questioners.
Yes.
My dad was a great one for questions. If he knew that I was interested in something, he would keep asking me, or he'd say, go someplace to find an answer. And he, was always asking me questions, and I had to go find the answer.
Follow-up questions or questions that you make your research. Yeah. Anybody else? Yes.
I think Jesus was a good questioner. He always, when people came to him, he always asked them a question and they were usually stumped.
Unexpected questions. Anything else? All right. Today's readings are from, our Old Testament reading is from Psalm 34, 1 through 8. It says, I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth. My soul makes it boast in the Lord. Let the humble hear and be glad. O magnify the Lord with me, and let us exalt his name together. I sought the Lord, and he answered me, and delivered me from all my fears. Look to him and be radiant, so your faces shall never be ashamed. This poor soul cried, and was heard by the Lord, and was saved from every trouble. The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him and delivers them. O taste and see that the Lord is good. Happy are those who take refuge in him. And our New Testament reading is from Mark 10, 46 through 52. It says, they came to Jericho. As he and his disciples and a large crowd were leaving Jericho, Bartimaeus, son of Timaeus, a blind beggar, was sitting by the roadside. When he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to shout out and say, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me. Many sternly ordered him to be quiet, but he cried out even more loudly, Son of David, have mercy on me. Jesus stood still and said, call him here. And they called the blind man, saying to him, take heart, get up, he is calling you. So throwing off his cloak, he sprang up and came to Jesus. Then Jesus said to him, what do you want me to do for you? The blind man said to him, my teacher, let me see again. Jesus said to him, go, your faith has made you well. Immediately he regained his sight and followed him on the way. The word of the Lord. I have a brother who is 10 years younger than me, and he is one of the coolest people I know. When he was in high school a few years ago, Dante was in a punk band, but he couldn't drive himself anywhere. He didn't know how to drive. And so, like any good older sister, I became the chauffeur of Zarlock and half of their band gear. For 2 years, I drove 17-year-old boys all around our state to sketchy venues and dumpy houses where they played really loud music and people made holes in the wall while they listened to them. It was completely out of my element and incredibly fun. There were a lot of really great things that I learned during those 2 years, during that time, and I will happily share them with you if you ever want to know some stories. And some not so great things came out of that as well. One of which is that after 2 years of loud grunge music in small apartments, my hearing isn't the best sometimes. I think most of you know that I work with teenagers in our community, and something that has recently, in this past year, or the past few years actually, become a sort of trend is wearing a mask all the time. And I don't just mean for COVID reasons, when kids are in school or if they're in a store or they're out and about. I mean all of the time, even when it's unnecessary. I meet with kids for coffee sometimes, and they only pull their mask down to take a sip of their drink, even if we're sitting outside. We'll be playing outside games or hiking or hosting some type of outdoor event, and some kids just wear a mask the whole time, even if they're 6 feet or way further than 6 feet away from everybody. It's almost like it helps them cope now or brings them some sense of comfort. Honestly, I think a lot of kids are uncomfortable with showing their faces and expressions to people around them now. They've gotten so used to being distanced from everyone, even in facial expressions. And while I understand this, because who wouldn't be afraid to show their face after 2 years of not showing your face, can I just confess that sometimes I cannot hear what they're saying? I think some of you can probably relate to that. And it might not be because you were listening to punk music for 2 years, but I think you might know what I'm talking about when you say it can be really difficult to hear people through a mask, whether it's necessary that it's on or unnecessary. Many of us know this story in Mark, the story of blind Bartimaeus. And I think, like the rest of you probably, I often put myself in Bartimaeus' shoes. I want Christ to heal me of my deepest wounds. I want him to listen to my deepest desires. And so I sit, crying out, pleading, appealing to him. I relate very strongly to Bartimaeus as he sits on the side of the road and shouts for Jesus' attention. I'm touched by his efforts because they aren't unlike our own. I think there's something very beautiful that we can explore in a desperate approach to Christ. As I reflected on this passage for this sermon, though, I was struck by placing myself in a different position and perspective, that of the crowd. Chances are this crowd isn't just people in Jericho. In fact, they're leaving Jericho with Jesus and his disciples during this scene, so they're followers of a sort too. They might know a bit about Jesus. They've probably heard him speak. They've probably seen him heal people miraculously, else they wouldn't be traipsing around the Middle East with him. And yet it seems that they haven't heard Christ clearly. It seems like they haven't been watching his actions or listening to him. You have a blind man on the side of the road, and he probably begs there every day. So some of them probably know him. Others are probably seeing and hearing him for the first time. And today, during this scene, he's begging for God's mercy. And what do these people do? These people who have witnessed miracles performed, who have heard Jesus' teachings about compassion and hope and the kingdom, who are so certain that Jesus is something special that they're following after him in their own form of desperation and pleading. What do? They tell him to be quiet. Many sternly ordered him to be quiet. Be quiet, many people yelled at him. Many rebuked him. They tried to hush him up. Translation after translation says the same thing. All these desperate, awestruck people following Jesus around react the same way to Bartimaeus. Be quiet, be quiet, be quiet. I have been wondering, how many people have I done that to? I think a lot of people don't know what they're asking for, or they don't know what they need. We don't know what they need. We just hear them begging and complaining. We hear them in pain, but it's indecipherable. And we get so tired of their griping, so annoyed by their interruptions, that we end up hushing them instead of trying to listen or understand. I love Jesus' reaction in this passage. He does two things that I think are really important here. First, he stops, and he tells the crowd to say something different. He tells them to invite him. Tell him to come here, he says. And immediately the crowd's whole demeanor changes. Take heart, cheer up, they say. He's calling to you. But why did it take Jesus ordering them to do that for it to happen? Haven't they been following him around, listening to his teachings? Don't they know what amazing things he can do that he could do for Bartimaeus? I don't think we're so different from that crowd. The other day I was meeting with a kid, and he's one of those kids who likes to wear masks all the time. No matter what we're doing, wherever we are, if we're far apart from each other, close to each other, outside, inside. And it was a struggle. We were sitting in a coffee shop, and it was pretty loud in there, and there was music playing and people talking, and he's pretty soft-spoken, so I couldn't really hear him well anyway, and with his mask on, it was twice as hard. And I started to get frustrated. There was one point in our conversation when I had to ask him to repeat himself 5 times because I couldn't understand him and I couldn't hear what he was saying. And while I could have continued to get annoyed and frustrated, annoyed at how he was hiding his face, annoyed at how I couldn't really understand what he was saying as he explained sadness, annoyed at the necessary repetitions, I found myself instead reflecting on this passage. And I felt God saying to me what Jesus said to the crowd, tell him to come here. My friends, if we are actually trying to tell others to come to Christ, if we're actually inviting them, we have to make time for them and listen to them. We have to make space and stop what we're doing, not hush people up, no matter how difficult it is to hear what they're really asking for. The second thing Jesus does here that I really like is that he asks Bartimaeus what he wants Jesus to do for him. I think so often in my approach to wounded and hurting people, I say things like, what's wrong with you? Or what happened to you? And that's not what Jesus does here. He stops his going, he redirects a crowd, and then he stands with Bartimaeus and he asks him a question that everyone has been too annoyed or is incapable of asking him. What do you want me to do for you? I'm listening, Jesus is saying here. I'm doing what everyone else hasn't been able to do for you. I'm listening. I don't think it's just masks that are making it difficult to hear people right now. I think there are so many things making it hard to hear people. Politics, divisiveness, hopelessness, or our own personal beliefs or disagreements. And it's challenging to listen to our friends and our family and our enemies, what they think about things and why. Sometimes it's frustrating or it's sad or it might make us angry. Sometimes it's annoying. And it would be so easy to just stop listening, to react and tell everyone to be quiet and hush up. But that's not what Jesus did, and I don't think that's what we're called to do either. Behind all of the ideas, opinions, and beliefs, there are very real questions and fears. And I think more than ever before, we're just not understanding what people are really asking. But if we stop and we ask, what do you need done for you? I think we'll be surprised by what people really need from Jesus and the things they've been wondering. Things like, do you still love me? Why is this happening? I'm afraid. Can you reassure me? Is God even good? Am I lovable? I'm lonely. I'm exhausted. I'm so tired of this. Will we make it? Is it worth it? Am I worth it? Is God still with us? Behind so many difficult conversations and personalities right now are those questions and statements. And if I'm being honest, behind my own difficult self are those same things. St. Augustine once asked, "What does love look like?" And he responded to his own question by saying, "It has the hands to help others. It has the feet to hasten to the poor and needy. It has eyes to see misery and want. It has the ears to hear the sighs and sorrows of men." That is what love looks like. It has the ears to hear the sighs and sorrows of men, of people, of each other, of me. Patient ears. Love looks like a Jesus who stops on a busy street and calls back, "Tell him to come to me." A Jesus who looks us in the eye and asks, "What do you need me to do for you?" Please take a few moments to reflect on who in your life might be shouting one thing, but you might need to listen a little closer to hear what they're actually saying. Who do you need to be patient for? And maybe, if that person is yourself, you can reflect on what you might actually need Jesus to do for you. Now we're going to sing the part of the hymn, or all of it, Amazing Grace. It's number 280. You can stand if you're able in your hymn books, verses 1 through 4. You may be seated, and can I ask whoever's doing special music to come forward, and then our ushers as well. Not sure what song we get to enjoy, but we'll take the offering and listen to some music together.
used for your glory. Amen.
All right. I am going to start by praying the prayer of intercession, and then we'll take some time for taking some personal prayer requests and finish with the Lord's Prayer. So, if you would pray with me. Almighty God, you provide all we need. You walk alongside us as we journey through valley and wilderness and climb mountain heights. We've glimpsed the promised land, but are not yet there. We lift up those who live in the shadow of despair, having seen the promise but not the realization. We lift up those who live in the no longer but not yet, having left an arduous past for a future yet unknown. We lift up those who live with the weight of responsibility, carrying the burden of another's pain. We lift up those who live in the obscurity of loneliness, having survived a torment that cannot be explained. Lay your holy hands upon us, empowering God, that we may be the church for them through Christ who sustains us. Does anyone have any prayer requests or praises? Yes.
Continued prayer for Tracy, we've been praying for a couple months. The problem now is they're looking for a long-term care space, a bed someplace here on Prineville, that she can be removed or just leave the hospital.
Prayers that Tracy would find somewhere to call home. Yes.
Praises. I've got my daughter and 2 friends with me. It's a lot of fun.
Fun. Yes.
I asked for prayers for my friend Chris from Callview, who's having throat surgery, I guess is the best way to call it, on Tuesday.
All right. Anything else? I have a praise for those of you who attended the Young Life Banquet or supported us in any way or watched virtually. We raised over $30,000 for ministry, which is so wonderful. And we can continue to do ministry this year. So thank you for that. Your part in that. And praise be to Jesus for that. Anybody else? All right. Lord, thank you for these other prayers and unsaid prayers as well. Thank you that you are with us in all of these things. I pray for places to call home, for people to feel peace and calm as they go through medical things and surgeries and face different illnesses. And I praise you for financial support of ministries in this community, for new friendships and fun and joy of having new people around us. And we offer up a prayer together, your prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, now and forever. Amen. If you would stand if you're able, we're going to sing hymn number 442, The Church's One Foundation, verses 1, 3, and 5.
and today may be sent out with this blessing. May we rest in the peace that passes all understanding. And once rested, then step out in the strong promises and strength of faith that have been passed on to us. And with each step we take, what does the Lord require?
To do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with God.
Go in peace after the book sleep.
Thank you, Mary.
So I changed my If I bring those in and just leave them in that room there, will that be okay?
Oh, yeah, you can bring them in and,
I don't have them quite done yet.
I may started mine. Or you can, if you like, this week will be hard, but next week I can just come out and get them.
Okay.
That might be easier.
Whatever, if we get something. Well, let me call you.
Well, that sounds good. Bye, guys.
like behind the podium, facing which way?
They need to get the card.
Oh,
We have 2 cards.
are the cards in here?
Are they in the Sunday school, whatever we have? Yeah. They're in one of those 2 rooms. I think it holds 5.
Do you just put them on top of each other like this?
Yeah. Yep, just like that.
Oh, okay. Let's just stack 5 high. then.
Yeah, if they get too high, we can't.
Get a 5 high.
That place is busy. I mean, busy.
Sure, you jump on. That's my driving. Hey,
I know we're putting them up here to go to first. Thank you.
Dean, there's a card there, so if you stack 5.
Normally, we would be using that little cubby, but we're not doing it.
Just stack 5 in the middle of the card.
I'm gonna leave it there because I can't see that high. Thank you.
No, she's trying to pass her test. She's doing it for the first time. Unfortunately, so we'll see what happens. I'm asking the Lord to break the mold and have our shot.